YouTube, and Facebook, which is crazy because I've never been live on Facebook because I hate Facebook so much, and I'm gonna stop talking about how much I hate Facebook. But I feel like there's like a lot of people that didn't have a chance to see my live streams because they only spend all their time on Facebook, and I didn't want to like let them miss the opportunity. So here we are. So as we are letting everybody stream in, I just wanted to introduce our guest. She is so cool, and she has accomplished so much. If you don't want to feel old, like, don't continue watching, because Yvonne Dean-Bailey, who is the person who is our guest. If you're on YouTube, by the way, check out the description. You can see her Twitter, her Instagram handle. She ran for office when she was 19 years old in New Hampshire. She ran for state rep, House rep, and she was so young, and that's when I met her, actually, so long ago. And at an event, she ran for office, and And how did that happen, by the way? So
yeah, so I had always been interested in politics. You know, in high school, I interned for, I don't know if you remember her, but Senator Kelly Ayotte, who was a senator for New Hampshire. And, you know, that was I disagree with her on a lot of things, but she profoundly changed my life and really got me into thinking about serving the state. And at the time after that, I started doing stuff with LI, the Leadership Institute, Campus Reform. And, you know, I was 19 and my town committee, the town chair, so like a lot of, I don't know if your followers know this, but a lot of towns have their own Republican committees. At the time I was Republican. And they were like, will you come speak to us about the activism that you're doing on your college campus? And so I said, sure. And so I went to my probably first town committee ever. And they started talking about, there's about 10 people there. They started talking about, you know, there's a special election in town, and this woman who was running has been a rep for, you know, six years or 8 years, and everyone's all afraid to run against her. And so they're all kind of looking at each other and they're saying, oh, you know, John could do it, or so-and-so could do it. And nobody wanted to do it. And I just kind of felt compelled. And I went home that night and I kind of slept on it. And I was only, like I said, I was only 19 at the time. And, you know, I decided the next day, I was like, I think I want to do this. So I reached out to our state senator at the time who was at the meeting, and I said, hey, this may sound kind of crazy, but I think I want to run, and I think that I could maybe win. And I don't know everything. Obviously, I'm 19. You can't know everything at 19, but I'm a hard worker. I'm going to work really hard and try my best to, you know, beat this Democrat who I was running against at the time. And 100 votes I won by.
Whoa.
Yeah, the first time. The second time I cleaned house, but the first time was rough.
What did your parents think?
My mom was out of her mind. I mean, she'll deny that now. But I remember, because I was in college at the time, she was like, what are you going to do about school? What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And, you know, it was for the seat that was in my hometown. I had lived there and grown up there my entire life. And I just felt, you know, compelled to do it. So I was kind of like, you know, all that other stuff will sort itself out, you know? This is something that I think I have to do.
And then, was it how you expected?
So I'll go into a little bit about the campaign, because the campaign and being elected are two very different things. And I'm from New Hampshire, which has the first in the nation primary. And I was running at the time during kind of like the pre-Fitton jungle. I'm not using the right word here, but the pre. All the candidates come to New Hampshire and they try and court everyone for the most part. And so it was kind of cool because I was young. So I had all these candidates who wanted to do events with me. So I got to do an event with Rick Perry at the time. I did an event with
So
Carly
cool.
Fiorina. Yeah, it was great. And so they really came and helped support me, Mark Rubio, and a few other folks. So it was a crazy, crazy time. And, you know, I'm 19. I come from, it's not like people think, you know, oh, you know, your parents probably floated the bill for your campaign. I raised all of the money myself. And at the time I had, you know, I had a 2000 Mercury Sable with 125,000 miles on it. And we're campaigning. It's like me and my 3 friends from high school in the middle of spring, like not spring, late winter in dirt roads, knocking on doors. And so that's really what put me over the edge at the time, is I knocked on every door in my district, pretty close. If you're a registered voter, I probably talked to you. And that's what happened at the end of the day. I mean, the woman that I ran against was probably in her late 60s, early 70s.
Whoa.
And well, it was funny. She was very, 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 very cocky. And I swear on this. I sign up to run, right? And the next day she posted on her Facebook page, a 19-year-old is running against me, should be fine. And so, I mean, that just put fuel in my fire, right? I'm like, man, I got to win this. And, you know, nice woman. But
what was her name?
Her name was Maureen Mann.
Maureen Mann.
There's actually, you know, if you want to switch topics, feel free to stop me. But during the campaign, there's this book that I happen to be in called Politics Weirdopedia. And I have a mention because there's like 4 days left in the campaign, right? And I am working my ass off. I am not sleeping. I'm not eating. I am just go, 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 knocking on as many doors as possible, trying to talk to as many people as possible. And 3 days out, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm knocking doors. And the news station, there's like one news station in New Hampshire, right? Calls me up and says, hey, I heard you dropped out of the race. Do you care to give a statement? And I'm like, I'm literally out here knocking doors. I don't know what you're talking about. And so they're like, well, no, we got your statement. And so I'm like, I need to figure goodbye. Like, and so I hung up the phone. I remember I texted the guy who was the ED, of the executive director of the NHGOP, the state party at the time. I said, what did you guys do? What's going on? What's going on? They're like, we have no idea. And it turns out that this guy who was working for my opponent made a fake email that looked just like my email, wrote a fake press release, sent a press release to all the newspapers in New Hampshire saying that I dropped out 3 days before the election, and some newspapers ran with it. And so the guy was not very smart, because in his Word document, he left, like, if you look in the metadata or something of a document, it has like who it originated from, and it had his name in it. And he told the newspapers that he was drunk and thought it would be funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
That's also election suppression. So
yeah,
I think he did a small stint in jail for it. But yeah, that was pretty wild. Still won 100 by 100 votes regardless. So
nice.
It was crazy.
And you were like, I mean, it doesn't sound like they tried to have mercy on you because you were 19.
No, and it's funny, right? Because obviously, like, so much money is spent in politics, and there are so many stakeholders involved. And when you have a special election like mine, there's nothing else going on. So all the Democrats, all the Republicans, they pump money into this race. And the thing that worked so poorly for the Democrats on this is my hometown. I grew up here. People know me. Like, I played on the local basketball team, right? Like, people know who I am. And they would put out mailers one of them was like this big. It was a giant clock, and it said Yvonne Dean-Bailey wants to turn the clock back on New Hampshire women. And my like dumb 19-year-old face is on the other side, like it's like obviously that's not true. So yeah, they didn't hold mercy on me by any means. In fact, I think that they played a little dirtier because of that, you know.
And it sounds like people are still, well, I mean, what were they saying? What were they accusing you of turning back the clock on?
Because I'm pro-life.
Yeah, and like, and it sounds like New Hampshire's Republicans are very like libertarian and pro like free market and stuff.
Yes, that's very true. And you know, they basically would try and come up with anything. They were grasping at straws. They'll attack you on everything.
And it sounds like they're still attacking you.
Yeah, a little bit. It's died down a bit, but you know, no matter what you do, people are going to go after you. And the more people go after you, the more you know that you're probably doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I was kind of thinking about this earlier. There's nothing more dangerous to the establishment than an ideologue. And I'm not going to say that I'm like such an ideologue and et cetera, but when you have values and you have principles and you're not willing to waver on them, that's very dangerous. And people don't like that. You know, it's Republicans, Democrats, establishment, lobbyists, et cetera.
By the way, I'm looking up this lady, Maureen. Can I show her to you on?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn my screen sharing. Share screen. I hope it doesn't show my whole computer because that would be weird. Maureen Mann. Okay, share. Do you see this?
I don't see anything. Oh, that's not her. That's definitely not her. Yeah, that's definitely not her.
Spiritual counseling. I was like, oh
no.
man.
No, she's not she's, you know, I try not to talk badly about people. I know she probably talks badly about me all the time. But, you know, she's a lot older than that. And I know she's not very spiritual. She's a little nutty.
Oh yeah, she's like in her 70s.
Yeah. It was a good experience. I learned a lot. And then after that, I went to serve about 3 years in the legislature. And I was on the election law committee, which was fascinating. I was the vice chair of that. And, you know, we need young people in the legislature everywhere. There's such a gap of understanding and knowledge. It's not for everyone. I probably would never run for political office again. I just don't think it's the place where I'm most effective. But we need young people up there. Every state. I mean, I think the average age in New Hampshire for legislators, and I might be getting this a little off, it's about 65 to 70. So when you're no offense to our 65 to 70 folks out there, but when you're dealing with new technology and you're dealing with issues about culture, it's almost an impossible battle when you're talking about issues that affect, you know, people our age, when the majority of the legislature is so much older. And it's not their fault, but it's just the reality, you know?
Yeah, like when they're trying to talk, like the most striking example I could think of is like when they were having this whole hearing about Facebook and big tech.
Oh.
Congress people didn't even know how to they didn't know what Facebook was or how it works. And they're trying to like come up with ideas to fix it.
I mean, when I love the folks who I served with, not all of them were great, not all of them were bad. But I will say, I think the Republican caucus was a lot older than the Democratic caucus. But the number of times I would be sitting in my seat and I would have somebody come up to me and they'd be like, "Can you help me with this email?" was striking.
It's so funny.
Or like, because as you know, a lot of politics happens on Twitter, right? So, you know, where we sat in the House in New Hampshire is a little bit different than other states. So other states, you have like a desk in, you know, your own space. But in New Hampshire, there's so many of us, so it's like airplane seating. So you're like packed on top of each other. And so much of politics happens on Twitter. So, you know, you'd be watching it as the session goes on. And I would have to update the people on either side. I'd be like, oh my gosh, you this person's going to do this. You know, it's kind of funny how things work. But we need more young people up there. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but it's important.
Why aren't more young people on the Republican side running for office?
I think it's a huge time commitment. And like me personally, I could only do it for so long. You don't get paid. And, you know, I am the kind of person who, when I do something, I want to give 100%. And, you know, I financially was able to work 2 jobs at the time. But not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone can defer their career plans to serve in office. And it's not always the most effective use of time either. I mean, I really enjoyed my time there. And especially, I was a vice chair of election law. We got a lot of good things done in New Hampshire. Obviously, there's a lot more to do on that subject. But, you know, for me personally, I felt like I could have a bigger impact at the national level. And politics is temporary. Culture is a lot longer lasting. So I try and focus my efforts there now, but that's just me.
Yeah, I hear that. What did you end up doing after you left? How long did you spend there, by the way?
I was there for 3 years. So I ran the first time and I won, and there was a remainder of like a year on that term. Second time I ran for re-election, and it was a much easier race. And I didn't have, you know, the Democrats playing tricks on me that time. So that was a little bit better. And then I served for 2 more years after that. And then I ended up resigning to take a job at a consulting firm, because at the time I was like, I was working for a consulting firm in New Hampshire. I was like, I really want to do more at the national level in Republican politics. And the firm that I ended up working for, you know, wasn't for me. But it was an important thing to find that out. And that's because I kind of learned, you don't know things until you're in the thick of it. And when I was in New Hampshire, it's a very small state. And the amount of money being spent in that state in politics is a lot. But when you look at the national level and you work for a national consulting firm and you realize how much money is being spent on these US Senate races and these ballot initiatives and these corporate funded initiatives, it's truly incredible. I mean, this is millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And just working at that firm, I kind of saw a different side of things that I didn't quite like, if that makes sense. So after that, I ended up going a completely different direction, and I ended up working for Project Veritas, which was great, in their communications and PR department. And that changed my life.
In a good way.
In a great way. I started in elected politics, and I always thought that that was the vehicle, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're taught, is this politician or that politician, and you find good people that you like. Like, I don't know who you particularly like for politicians. I don't have a very long list, but you know, you find people you like, but that's not the majority, at least in my case. And I think it was Mark Stein who said this, and I completely agree with him. It's politicians will always let you down, and it's not necessarily their fault, but they will always let you down. So, yeah, you know, I work with a lot of low dollar donors, and at my job there at Veritas and now, and a lot of these people give to candidates, and that's great. You know, they'll give $500 to this candidate or $500 to that candidate. But the reality is it's being spent on advertising that does very little. You know, when you're talking about a campaign that the budget is $10 million or $20 million, your $500 could be better spent going to something that makes a better impact. So, you know, consultants don't like this, but I'm a little off topic here, but I think it's an important point. Spending your money on elected politics when you could be spending it on culture is so much more important. And that's what I learned at Veritas.
I agree, by the way.
Right? I mean, think about it. Like TV ads, you have digital, you have all of these other media, direct mail, and it's just a constant onslaught. So if, you know, you're running for office and I'm a voter and I'm seeing your direct mail, I'm seeing your TV ad, I'm seeing your digital ads, it's more effective if I see a video of your opponent caught lying, right? Or saying that they're going to do something, but they're actually not going to do it. And they really support a gun ban when they said, you know, that they didn't. That's so much more effective.
Yeah.
And it's a lot cheaper to do. And it's a better use of your money as a donor. And same thing, like, you know, when I was at Veritas, I worked a lot on big tech investigations. I mean, that's, you know, you can, the censorship battle is the next battle. Whether you're a Republican or a Libertarian or somewhere in between. But if you are someone who values truth and values the idea that the mainstream media is not always right, this is the battle. And the sad thing is, politicians aren't going to change it. The Twitter lobbyists and the Facebook lobbyists and the Google lobbyists are more powerful than any $500 donation that you can give, you know, Mike Lee or one of those guys. That's just the reality.
Yeah, it's so true. And that I also from the other side, I feel like in general, independent content creators, people online who spend a lot of time online creating content are like, they're kind of like the future of culture.
Yeah.
Because even from like, this is also a little bit off topic, but like people in Hollywood also are losing a lot to independent content creators. Like these big like film production companies, I don't think that they're as valuable anymore as YouTubers that make movies.
Yep. It's totally true. I actually, I don't know if you know who Whitney Cummings is, but she was talking about that on
That's
her.
Familiar.
Yeah, she's a comedian, and she's kind of like, she's probably one of my favorite comedians. But she's on Joe Rogan every now and then, and she definitely leans liberal, but she's starting to see the light and was talking a lot about this. She actually created Two Broke Girls, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's totally true. I mean, the reality is, independent content creators, people like Joe Rogan, for example, they are 10 times more dangerous to the left than any politician. That's just the reality, right? It's just
know that.
Say that again?
And people know that. That's why they keep trying to ban independent content creators that are like right wing or conservative or anything like that. Exactly. You mentioned being a little bit jaded afterwards. I mean, it sounds like you had a really successful run when you were in politics. So like what made you feel like, I mean,
I think I became, I was, my mom and I kind of have this joke that when I started in politics, I was very rah-rah Team Red and go Republicans. And I would, you know, I would do anything for the Republican Party. It's so great. They support my values. They support what I stand for. But I kind of realized at the end of the day, if you live by the Republican Party, you die by the Republican Party. And it was kind of an allegiance that, you know, I still vote Republican 99.9% of the time. But these party structures are a huge barrier to getting independent politicians. A lot of the behind the scenes knee jerk lobbying that happens. I'm not putting this into good enough words for you all. But it's kind of like you have to fall in line. And I'm not kind of a fall in line kind of girl. And I think that when I know for a fact that when I was first elected, you know, everyone's like, oh, the cute little 19-year-old, so great, can't wait to use her, you know? Yeah. Like, she'll be a great face for this bill or that bill. And I had a lot of people, and yet this is I'm not saying the system is broken. Part of it probably was I will say my age at the time, which, you know, is a blessing and a curse. But I think there's a tendency, especially in Republican politics, to try and use the young, pretty thing, for, you know, things that are not ideal if you're that person. And I don't, that shit doesn't fly with me. And when you make that perfectly clear, the receiving end doesn't like it. Does that make sense? Am I being clear enough?
Yeah. Like, unless I'm like missing the point completely, I feel like I had a very similar feeling in conservative media also. Yeah. Like, not all, I don't know about all conservative media, and specifically conservative DC media.
Yeah, that's why I don't live in DC. Sorry.
Yeah, I hate it. Like, I mean, there are cool things about DC, but the conservative media sphere is so run by like old people that don't get it, and they're always trying to use young, especially women, to like push this point across and that point across, and they have no respect for you. They think you're dumb.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe you're dumb, maybe you're not. But they are very, very open about how they think you're dumb.
Yep.
And that you're just there to push their message across. And any like new or interesting ideas that you might have that might actually relate, their whole thing is always obsessed with like, oh, we have to get the young people. We have to get the young people and get people who relate to young people. But they're not relating to young people, because all they're doing is just putting a young face as a puppet on their still old and stupid ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I felt very similarly to that. And, you know, when you make it very clear that you're not going to put up with the bullshit, people come for you. And that's kind of why I say, if you're a young person in politics, it's not for everyone. If you aren't able to stand your ground and stand up for what you believe in, it's going to eat you alive. It's just like really not good to say, but it's the truth. And, you know, these are the kind of people, the most dangerous people in politics, which is the majority of people in politics, are politicians who don't have values. And unfortunately that's the majority, right? You know, I might upset some viewers right now, but the reality is, do I agree with AOC? No, I don't agree with her on almost anything. But she is dangerous. Nancy Pelosi hates her because she's an ideologue and she has values. And she knows that when Nancy whispers in her ear and says, hey, you need to take one for the team, she's going to say, no, screw you. And that's what we need more of. And I wish we had more people who think like us who do that.
Me too. I love how much she cares about the things she's pushing for.
Yeah.
And how she's like so effective at it.
Yeah.
And people who like are like, she's just 28. She's a bartender. It's like, dude, you're not helping yourself.
No. We need more young people, and it's, you know, crap like that does not persuade them to do it, because why would you give up your life? And when you're in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, if you're in your 40s, you are a young person in politics. We're dealing with people who are great people sometimes. Plus, well, you know, there are some, I've met some of the worst people in my life that I've ever met. I've met in politics, and I've met some incredibly amazing people who I would take a bullet for. I have not found anyone in between. But I will say, we need more young people in Congress. We need more young people in state legislatures. We need more ideologues, especially on the center right, because those are people who cannot be influenced by lobbyists. And that's the problem that we have now. State legislatures, not all of them, most of them are run by lobbyists. And that's why we have the problems that we do.
So if I was an 18-year-old who's just graduating from high school, and I'm like about to go to college, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should run for office. Or maybe I should run for office next year. What would you tell me to do?
You need to know yourself and know who you are. And it's fine to change your opinions. I've changed plenty of my opinions since I was 19. I mean, like, this is such like a lame one, but it's the one that comes to mind. Like, I was completely against legalization of marijuana when I was 19. Now I support it. You know, it's okay to change your mind. I'm not saying that you can't change your mind, but you need to know yourself, and you need to know that you are, and your confidence in yourself needs to be such that you cannot be influenced by bad people. Mm-hmm. And when you feel comfortable with that, then you should run. Okay. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you should not run. I felt comfortable with that. You know, I'm sure I made mistakes, but at the end of the day, when somebody came to me and said, I need you to do this, and I didn't agree with it, I said, screw you. And that's what you have to be able to do. But a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds can't do that. No offense to them. It's just, they can't. After I ran in New Hampshire, there were a few other young people who ran right after me, who were roughly the same age, give or take a few years. Some of them were great. Some of them got steamrolled every single day, you know? And that's hard to watch. It's also hard to watch as someone who is, you know, at the time, like I'm 20 and I see another 19-year-old and it's like, you know, hey, stand up for yourself. But, you know, that's not the character of every person, you know? So that's my 2 cents on that, if that was clear.
Yeah. And also, like, I'm sure it helps to have family or friends that are like really supportive.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And you know, it was so funny because I remember I announced, and I actually went to, it was kind of like, I got a scholarship. My parents aren't loaded or anything like that, but I went to boarding school for the last few years of high school. So I didn't know, like, I knew some folks locally, but it had been a while, if that makes sense. And I had so many people come out of the woodwork who were like, I played basketball with you in 8th grade, and I think you're great, and I want to come help knock doors with you. I'm like, okay, that's great. That's amazing. Like, come along for the ride. This is wonderful. And, you know, I had people who, the best thing, which if you run for office, or if you know, other people run for office or are watching, the best thing that I had, and I was very grateful to have, is people who fundamentally disagreed with me on every issue, but were willing to help me because they knew me and they loved me and they wanted to see me succeed. Nice. That is an incredible thing to have.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, that's really cool. And, but you weren't going to school. You didn't go to boarding school in New Hampshire, right?
I did. I went, you know, a hop, a skip, and a jump up the street. I mean, like, it was like 40 minutes away, but it's still different, you know. It's not like I finished at like the local high school, and you know.
And then did you get a chance to like go to college and everything?
I went for 1 year, and it was actually kind of funny. I was recruited for basketball, And, but I just like was at a time in my life where I was like, and you, I know for sure were like this at one point where it's like, I want to eat, sleep, live and breathe politics. Like you could give me $1 billion to stop and I would tell you no. And when you have that bug and you need to like, I'm the kind of person that's like, I need to like, I can't focus. Like I want to do this. And I know like I'm good at it. And people, I was working for a campaign at the time. I was like, this is what I want to do. So, and it was the best decision I ever made. Full stop.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. It's like, it's always the people who say, do what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Being correct.
Exactly. And like, you know, I can say for certain that had I stayed for 4 years in college, my life would be nowhere near as epic as it is now. So,
nice.
You know, you got to do what's right for you.
Where do you see yourself like continuing in the future?
Say that again.
Could I say? I see you being a producer.
Oh,
I see you like being in the entertainment business.
Yeah, I would be up for that. I mean, that's kind of like that's definitely where my interests align. I like media. I like culture. I also enjoy fundraising. So I'm, you know, exploring a blend between the three of those. I have some ideas in my hat. We'll see.
Would you ever have your own show?
I would love to. I think that would be so fun. It's just making it happen.
Yeah, hit me up. We can collab. I really like to make vlogs.
Yeah.
But I feel so awkward when I make vlogs because I'm always asking people like permission if I can like film them or like for them to be in it, and they're always like, no, like privacy, blah blah blah. So
I've always wanted to do a show or a podcast, but I have had it's like, you know, who am I gonna do it with? Am I gonna sit here and talk to myself all day? This is not appealing to me.
You can. That's what I do.
Yeah. I just can't. I like, it's a talent that you have. I cannot sustain a conversation with myself. I'll work on it though.
Well, for me, it's a little bit cheating because I also read the comments while I'm live streaming. So if it wasn't live and it was just a podcast pre-recorded, I've actually done that before, and it's so quiet and it feels so weird to talk to myself because that's really like I'm not getting feedback as it's happening.
That's hard.
Like, yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah. And even if no one responds in the comments, when it's live, it feels like someone's listening.
Yeah. You know, it's a grind, but it will pay off.
Yeah.
What was I gonna?
So, you ever think of moving back to New Hampshire?
Oh, that's a hard one. No. That doesn't say that I don't, you know, value my experience there or love people there. Obviously, that's a crazy thing to say, but there are a few reasons. Number one, I have become a complete wimp and I cannot take anything below 50 degrees. I have been ruined by California, and I don't think that is repairable. And I also will say, once you've shoveled 48 inches of snow in the morning to get out of your driveway, it's not something that you go back to easily. So probably not. I also think, and have you ever heard of the Free State Project?
Yeah. But
so I wasn't sure if you're familiar with it, but there's kind of a movement of wonderful people who I like very much, called the Free State Project, that basically the idea is for a large movement of, you know, liberty-friendly people to move to New Hampshire to make an impact electorally, right? So like the idea is, if New Hampshire's such a small state, there's only 1.3 million people. If you can get, you know, 100,000 people to move there or 50,000 people to move there, you can make a big impact, like in an election, right? There's kind of, it is a big movement.
I heard of this.
I think they've had, I could be wrong, I think they've had 20,000, 40,000 people actually go through with it. But I do think New Hampshire, though I love it and will always love it, is in a bad spot right now. I think that it's the only beacon of almost freedom in the Northeast, but a lot of people who do not think similarly are moving there. People from Massachusetts, people from New York, who vote the opposite of the way I would like them to vote. And I'm not asking for much. I mean, New Hampshire has always never had a sales tax or an income tax. And that's part of the beauty of living there. I don't think it's going to stay that way for very long. And, you know, I might get a little shade for this, but the governor there, who's a Republican, has not been very good. You know, he's been okay on some stuff, but when it comes to COVID and lockdowns, he's been pretty atrocious. And it's just not the friendly place that it used to be, you know?
That's so sad.
Yeah. It is very sad, but
they're all caving except for Ron DeSantis.
I don't quite understand. I mean, it's really, it's really brought out the worst in people, right? Especially Republicans. Some of these folks that you used to think that you can count on, like the governor of New Hampshire, for me, I mean, I campaigned for him. I donated for him. I did all sorts of stuff. Never again. I mean, the guy has been awful. And you're seeing that with a lot of Republican governors across the country. And it's kind of pushed me to this point where it's like, well, I'm probably not a Republican anymore. COVID has really done that for me. That's just me. Maybe I'm just a little too cynical.
No, I agree with you 100%. I feel like that a lot. I mean, even Trump, who was never like supposed to be the typical Republican, he's really, really, really done so much to push these lockdowns, even though at the beginning he said he wasn't going to. He just gave it so much.
Yep.
And with this crazy bill, how much, $900 billion, it's not even mostly going to Americans.
Mm-hmm. It's awful. It's completely awful. And, you know, like I said, I used to be, you know, Team Red all the way, but, you know, you live and you die by the Republican Party. And I couldn't believe it that so many Republicans were going along with this. And I'm like, guys, this is the most basic thing, like letting people do business. Like, it doesn't get more basic than this, right? Like, what if you're going to cave on this? What else are you going to cave on? This is insane. And, you know, I get emails from the California GOP who say, oh, Newsom's a weenie. It's like, no, the guy is a criminal. Hello. What is wrong with you people?
Traitor.
It's insane.
He betrayed Americans.
Yeah. And, you know, I see people who, you know, have never, ever thought of voted in California specifically, because the lockdowns have just been so atrocious here, who have never thought of voting anything but Democrat in their entire life. And they're realizing that this is the only option, is to get these people out, especially Newsom. He is in big trouble. He doesn't realize it now, but if he lets this go on past the new year, he's in big trouble. I mean, where I am now, I'm in South Orange County, which is like people are like, oh, it's so conservative. It's not conservative. It's reasonable. Like, it's not super liberal. Like, you know, that's the standard that there is here. And everything in my town is open. He is in a position, Newsom is, where the second biggest metro area, which is San Diego, is giving him the middle finger. It's insane. How do you let this keep going?
Well, they're all doing it, and it seems like, I mean, so many people are going along with it, and they're like, Newsom, like I'm seeing people on Twitter being like, from the left, saying Newsom is not being hard and strong enough with the lockdowns.
It's crazy.
They want more lockdowns.
It's absolutely insane. And at this point, it's like, you look at the data, it shows very clearly lockdowns don't work, right? I hate to do this, but I thought that I had plenty of battery. It was at 100%, but I grab my charger real quick. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah, do it. What's up, everybody? It's like, you know, the old days when it was just me. And I had a live stream that last year I did these live streams. I started doing it in April, and I was doing it every night. And I had so many technical issues, and my live streams would keep cutting out in the middle because I didn't have a place to live. I mean, my YouTube videos explain it all, but I was kind of living in a bunch of different places, not in one place. Yeah. And so I was doing these live streams in like parking lots and stuff like that.
Jeez.
Using like the 4G on my phone. And and like it was crazy. Yeah, it was really shitty and bad quality, and like there'd be homeless people making noise on the side. I don't know if people, Dover members.
Oh my God.
And the live streams would keep like cutting out. So then
my quick power issue was okay, then is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, it's so, everything is so much different now. Like you can be like the most you can do the most awkward thing. Not that you didn't, but you can do the most awkward thing ever on this live stream.
Yeah.
It still won't be nearly as bad as how this live stream used to be when I started.
Good to know. Good to know.
Not to mention I couldn't talk because I was too like awkward and didn't have enough camera experience.
That's okay. So yeah, I mean, I think back to the Newsom thing, it's just it's going to be a reckoning very soon. And maybe he makes it out okay, but I don't think that he wins again in 2022. He's just, it's like destruction here. That's what it is. It's crazy.
Do you think that there is a way back though? After, I mean, this bill, we're in so much debt right now. So many businesses are gone. Do you think there's a way? I mean, they have to make up that money somehow, and they have to do it through taxes. I mean, there's no other way. And so, like, people are leaving. I know a lot of people who are willing to get out of this country, which is really sad because America is still the last.
Where do you go?
Yeah, where do you go? Exactly. I mean, right? From what it sounds like, people are trying to go anywhere where the government is so weak that they can't get you. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit too black-pilled on this stuff. Yeah. So it's when you talk to me, it's like you're talking to like someone who's just so far gone. But
yeah, you know, I'm almost there. I'm not quite there. It's just, I just don't know what to do. You know, it's kind of where I'm at. California I love it here. Just pre-COVID, you couldn't have paid me to move. I know the politics are bad here, but I have a great friend group. I've just met wonderful people here and have, you know, built a life that I'm proud of and I very much like. But after COVID, it's just like, what do you do? I mean, people are fleeing. Will it ever go back to normal? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. The crime has gone up so much. I don't know if you've been following the new DA in LA County, who's basically legalizing crime. Have you seen this Gascon guy?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was like, basically he legalized trespassing. He legalized basically if you're caught with possession of any hard drugs. But trespassing in LA, and you know this, is huge because you have homeless people everywhere. And in your business, in your house, I mean, sorry, not some people in their house. Yes, that's a correct thing to say. It's everywhere. And I used to live in Culver City, like right by, you're probably familiar with that area, right by Sony. And when I moved there, it was beautiful. You could walk around. It was all super hunky-dory. And then it was like at night, like we used to have homeless people right when COVID hit, like all up and down the streets. It just like wasn't safe.
They're trying to abolish the concept of private property because they're communists. And I have no problem saying that straight out. They're communists. And that's the goal, abolish private property. And they're all talking about it. All these people in Congress also. Like Ilhan Omar.
It's true. And like crime has gone up. It was my friend's birthday in like late October, like right before Halloween. And she wanted to go to this haunted house that was in like, not the best part of Hollywood, but like a decent part of Hollywood where like people go out and there's like restaurants. And it's like, I went there for my birthday like a year before, right? So like a good part, not a great part, but an okay part of Hollywood. And we go to this event and it's like a haunted house. And then you like sit outside and there's like a bar and you can get drinks. We're sitting there having drinks. And two of my friends go around the corner to smoke a cigarette. And all of a sudden we hear 2 gunshots. And this is like at 9 o'clock on a Friday. My friends come booking around the corner. Some guy was shot in the middle of the street. Like,
oh my God.
10 feet away from them. They saw the whole thing.
Whoa.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And then of course everybody scattered. It was all like, it was just a nightmare. So I'm not sure that LA can, it's going to have to be if it comes back, it's going to have to take someone who is not Eric Garcetti, who is quite possibly the second worst politician in the country. The first would be Newsom. It's going to have to take somebody like, you know, the Rudy Giuliani of today to really clean things up. And it's going to be hard. I'm not sure it can be done.
Well, if you ever decide that you want to move to Texas, you can.
Thank you. Where in Texas are you?
You can join me. I can help you. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great things.
So when I'm moving to Texas, I was debating Austin and Dallas.
Yeah.
And I thought briefly about moving to Austin, but Dallas has so much great construction happening. And I think it's a great place for for filmmakers. A lot of filmmakers are moving to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I'm hoping someday to build a studio there. That would be really cool. Just down the line, building like a nice big studio for everything.
That would be very cool. I have a lot of friends who were in stand-up and doing like stand-up comedy in LA, and they have like all moved to Austin. It is pathetic. And you have it's just, it makes me so mad. It's like, don't you see, Eric Garcetti, that everything that makes LA awesome, you have literally ruined? Like, the entertainment scene is going to leave. Like, they're hanging on by a thread, right?
Yeah.
It's madness. Especially like a lot of the, you know, people come to LA to like make it or, you know, whatever. And a lot of these folks who are like new artists or comedians or actors don't have a ton of money. And you're basically flushing out like all of the young people that like the town runs on. It's insane.
Yeah.
So.
Sucks to be him. I hope he like gets recalled or something and gets his ass kicked. Really.
He might. Like, I don't know if you've been following, but the left here is very upset with him. Because I think it has to do with like the rent, like they're trying to get like a rent suspension, and obviously like you can't, that's one thing. And that is kind of an interesting topic that I don't know a lot about is the eviction moratorium is going to expire. Like, where are all these people going to go in LA, right? You already have 65,000, 60,000 homeless people in Los Angeles. Where are they going to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, yeah.
And my friend, who, you know, is probably one of my wealthier friends, was looking for a new apartment in LA, and they're asking for like 3 or 4 months rent down because they don't want people who can't pay.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I get where they're coming from.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, screwing it up for everybody else.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's screwing it up for everyone else. And also like people who, I mean, California owns so much land, so much
resources.
Houses. They have so many houses that aren't being lived in that they could be allowing these people to live in, but these corrupt people who work in California, they just take and take and take. These government officials, they just take and take for these housing programs. I forgot what I think it's called,
Project Roomkey,
Caltrans, or
maybe.
Yeah, they're just. I don't think that. I think that they can actually, with all the money that they've collected for these programs, they should be able to help these homeless people, but they don't.
Hypothetically, that would work, but we know that just because there's a government program doesn't mean it's going to work. But it is criminal, the amount of money that they get from the federal government and everybody and their mother for this issue. And there are absolutely no solutions. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this. I don't know, like if you're staying in LA or where you are, but it's like, I go by places because I moved to Orange County in July of this year because I couldn't take it anymore. Between between the homeless issue and the lockdown and where I lived, it was like, I'm a very outdoorsy person. I like to go outside for a walk or a run. And even at that time, if you went outside without a mask, people would scream at you. So I couldn't take it anymore, and I moved to Orange County. I forget where I was going on this tangent. I promise it was. Oh, I'm sure you've seen this, but like from the beginning, but before the pandemic, homelessness was bad. Like looking now and just comparing it, it's 10 times worse. And they've just let it go completely out of control.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully nothing crazy happens, but probably it will.
Yeah.
But we should check back once Biden is president and when shit really hits the fan. And then then we can just see where we want to go next. Hopefully Texas will be fine for a while, but who knows? Yeah. We'll have to run. We can create like an underground system.
Safe house.
Yeah, and we'll just we can all plan for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm crazy when I talk like this. So
no, no, I don't blame you. I mean, like Texas sounds great in theory, but where's it going to be in 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Just make a lot of money, invest, save up, like just, have a backup plan.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And have an online community. That's cool. Having an online community is cool.
I should do that.
But you do.
Yeah, I've got homies.
Everyone who's on this live stream, like this video, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already, and follow Yvonne Dean-Bailey. She's on Twitter. She's on Instagram. The links are in the description on YouTube. So go and follow her. And
Thank you.
See you all tomorrow. And yeah, is there anything else that and if you actually are interested in running for office, and most of the people here are like probably around our age, or maybe a little bit older, but can people ask you?
100%. Feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, cool. Thanks. See you guys later.